This is Michelle Branch and her song I'd Rather Be in Love from her debut album, The Spirit Room. There's a reason why I played this today, and I will talk about that later in today's episode of Dylan Knows, which is now live and is weekly appropriate. About 3 hours ago, I did the episode I should have done last weekend, but didn't get around to it till right now. Actually, this is right in the face. So I'm going to try to get a little bit of a, here we go, Halloween sort of serial killer vibe going on. That'll work. Actually, I need a little bit more light on so I can read my paperwork. So there we go. So this is finally we are back on track. This is Dylan Knows episode 413. Not Squid Game, but that's we'll talk about that in a little bit too. Yeah, so this is the stuff. I'm back live. This is the stuff that happened this week. What I talk about in the show is the stuff that happens on this week with my little skewed perspective on things. It is actually physically 3 minutes before midnight, so I got it in just in time. I was hoping to get it done on the 16th because tomorrow, which is in 3 minutes, is Sunday the 17th, which is officially 2 weeks to Halloween. So we're getting the Halloween gear right now, and the weather outside is finally catching up with itself. Temperature has dropped about 30 degrees over the last 24 hours. So that's outstanding. So things are going good there. So we're finally back on top. We should be fine next week. If everything goes according to plan, we'll be by myself because the kids and my wife are going camping. Now, I said this last month, and the camping got canceled due to a COVID issue. Hopefully that won't happen this time. So here's hoping that next weekend show, I'll be by myself, maybe upstairs, doing stuff up there. I'm not sure. We'll see how I'm feeling. I'm going to try to do a Halloween sort of movie watch over the 2 days that I'm pretty much by myself. So I should say 2 evenings I'm by myself. Basically, they leave Friday afternoon and don't come back till Sunday, early Sunday afternoon. So we'll see how things go with that. So that'll be interesting. But yeah, so we're back on top here. So this week we're going to be talking about DC FANDOME, which was today, the 16th, and a lot of the stuff dropped with that. Comics issues this week. A wild weekend in NFL football. We're going to recap that since the new week started on Thursday, and we got some interesting games coming up tomorrow. What else we got? We finally have a new James Bond in the movie theater. It took 2 years, but we finally have one. We'll find out how that did. We're going to discuss a little bit with Baltimore Comic-Con, some death, some anniversaries, including one with Michelle Branch. We'll discuss a bit more detail about the livability list that I teased on my last episode. Got a lot of stuff. We'll talk a little bit about Squid Game. Not much because I haven't watched it yet, but there's just a few things interesting about that. Morons. A lot of football, which is a lot more than I thought it would be. Some interesting mutations. And yeah. UFOs. There's the story I was looking at, and Pokemon, Fortnite. All the typical stuff I usually cover. So I'm trying a little bit something different here. I got Dimitri, my flamingo on, which you really can't tell. It just looks like a big pink blob over there because I don't have all the lights on. I want to try and see how this looks. This actually looks pretty cool. I might keep this up for a while when I'm down here in the bunker. Basement. So we'll see what happens. So what does this do? Oh, it's a glue gun. Never mind. What's that doing down here? Anyway, first up, here we go. It's 4 minutes and 44 seconds, so let's get moving here. It is actually now officially Sunday the 17th, 2 weeks to Halloween right now, 14 days, so yippee. First up, we're going to go from Halloween to Christmas. The Hawkeye the Hawkeye trailer came out about a month or so ago, showing it to take place during the Christmas season. It was an outstanding trailer, and I'm really excited to see the show. It set a premiere date of November 24th, which is the day before Thanksgiving. So that's a bonus. Well, this week they released another like teaser trailer for it with some new footage. Get to see that Linda Cardellini, who played his wife in the other movies, is back for the show, which is good. Um, but the most important thing was we found out that, and it's kind of interesting since there's only 6 episodes, since it's an hour-long show, that they are releasing 2 of them on the premiere date, November 24th. Now, there's a couple of reasons you can think about why they're doing that. One is Hawkeye's never had a movie. He's got a TV show, which is better, in my opinion, because you can do a lot more stuff with it. But maybe they want to give him that like 2-hour movie feel for the first 2 episodes of the show. Another thing is Amazon, I guess, when they do their shows, they usually release 2 to 3 episodes on release date and then go weekly after that. So they might be trying to emulate that. So I don't know about that. But the fact is, we're going to be getting 2 episodes the day before Thanksgiving, which is great because it's a 4-day weekend and we can watch it anytime. I'm probably going to watch it that Wednesday because we have off the next 4 days. So I'll probably watch it then. So we'll see. I think I talked about this on my show last, but Secret Invasion with Samuel L. Jackson has officially started filming, which means we'll be getting that. That's probably going to be the one that's going to pop up later in 2022. So we'll probably get that probably around this time next year, since they're just starting to film it now. Along those same lines, last week I told you that Moon Knight finished filming, so that to me leads me to believe that that's going to be the one before that. So probably sometime in midsummer to maybe early fall, like September-ish. We'll see sometime in there, probably when Moon Knight would probably pop in there. Because remember, we have Miss Marvel, which was supposed to come out this month, or this year rather, but didn't due to technical difficulties, whatever. So we got that coming out. We have Moon Knight. We've got Secret Invasion. I feel like I'm missing one. Like, I can't think what the other one would be, but we got those 3 at least being worked on right now. So we got those 2 coming up. And Oscar Isaac said that he thoroughly enjoyed his experience on Moon Knight. It was a whole new challenge for him, and he's excited for us to see what is to come. Now, talking about DC FANDOME, I will get into that a little later because when I was starting to write my notes, DC FANDOME hadn't happened yet, but I knew stuff was going to happen because last year it was just like, look at all this stuff DC is doing, and everyone was like, oh, what's Marvel? Because at that time Marvel hadn't revealed anything, and then Marvel said, hold my beer, and they did their Disney show and they revealed everything, and it blew the DC FANDOME out of the water. So we'll cover some more of the DC FANDOME stuff. There were some preliminary DC stuff that came out before FANDOME. Big one is that Brian K. Vaughan has announced that he is going back to Saga, which has been away for about a year now, maybe a year and a half. Is returning to it in January 2022. So new issues of Saga will be rolling through there. So you have until January to get caught up. I have the first 4 trades. I haven't read it yet. I heard it's a really good series, but I haven't read it yet. But the second half of the series, I guess, is starting in January. Yeah, so we go from the cool stuff about comics to the distribution side of it. Now, I have personal experience with it. I worked for Diamond Comic Distributors back in early 2000s for about 4 or 5 years as customer service rep, and then as a brand manager. And I did not have a bad experience management wise. I can see why a lot of shops are angry about Diamond being a monopoly at that time and all that stuff. But gradually, with the whole COVID stuff that came out last year, things started changing with DC saying they were going to go through a different distributor. So they left Diamond, and then very soon after that, Marvel said they were going to be joining up with Penguin Random House to be their delivery people. So they're going to be leaving Diamond, kind of. I told you that story is that they're leaving Diamond, but at the same time, Diamond is going to become Penguin Random House's biggest customer because they're going to order all their Marvel books from Penguin Random House, and they're going to deliver it to Diamond, and Diamond will deliver it to their customers. So that's why we still have Marvel coming from Diamond, because they are getting it from Penguin. And there are some companies that say, to hell with Diamond, I'm going to just go straight with Penguin. They can do that, but a lot of companies are just like, we'll just stick with Diamond since we have it in place. And then IDW said they're going to be joining up with Penguin as well. I mentioned that a couple weeks ago on my show. We'll see how that works out, because this week was the first week for Penguin Random House delivery of Marvel, and reading the article about it, it was an absolute flop. Now, obviously, it's the first week. They don't know what they're doing, and hopefully they will learn from it. Well, actually, hopefully I don't. Hopefully they go back to Diamond, but that's besides the point. But hopefully they will learn from it, because basically what they were doing was they were shipping the comic books to the shops that order directly from them in not extra stacked boxes. There were boxes that have double walls or triple walls, which keeps the damages minimalized. That's what Diamond uses when they deliver their stuff to their customers. And people were used to, when they open their Diamond boxes, that they might get a couple of damages here and there, but not nearly that bad, because they had a appropriate double wall box protecting their books. Well, apparently, according to a number of accounts, that's not what happened with Penguin Random House. They just thought a normal box would be fine. Either they were cutting corners, or they had a surplus of them, because that's how they ship out books and stuff, and books never get damaged. So they got delivered, and a lot of them were damaged. And the other thing I heard is that, so when these accounts are trying to call in the damages, Penguin Random House was giving them the hardest time, a runaround, saying that they need to prove that one or two books are damaged, and if they delivered it, they would come back and say, no, these are fine, because they don't understand the quality of books, comic books, that you cannot have dings or tears or stuff like that in it, because it drops how much it'll be worth later on. But they don't care, because books aren't sold that way, so that's how they're used to it. So we'll see if they change that up. A lot of accounts are kind of upset about that. We'll see how that goes on. Meanwhile, there are, and I mentioned this in my show last week as well, earlier today, and DC particularly has been affected by this, that a lot of the books that were scheduled to come out this week and last week and the week before all have been delayed a week to 2 weeks due to printer and paper problems. A good example is Strange Adventures number 12, which is the last issue of Tom King's written Adam Strange book. The last issue was supposed to be out 2 weeks ago. They announced it on their page, and I was like, okay, I'll pick up, because it's the last one, and I haven't read it yet, but it's the last one, so I'll pick it up and read them all in one sitting. So I go to the comic book store on Friday, and there's no copies. I was like, they got them on Tuesday. They've never sold out of the book before when I used to buy them. I used to buy them on Wednesday, but then there were times I buy them on a Thursday or Friday, and they still had plenty in stock. I was like, I was like, well, I didn't think much about it, because it wasn't that big of a deal. I was like, I'll just come back the next week when they'll have their back reorders or whatever. Wasn't there the week after that. And I was like, okay, that's interesting. And then I looked at the release schedule for the books coming out for this past week, and there it was. I was like, okay. And then I read this article. I was like, oh, okay. There was a number of books that were affected by that this week. And there were still some that were supposed to be out this week that have been pushed back a couple weeks as well. So it's one of those things that, that's got to be getting taken care of. And of course, it's a COVID issue as well. But still, it's an interesting thing about that. Andy Murray, huge tennis star, had his wedding ring stolen. I just thought it was an interesting story, a little bit different, a little break from the norm. It's not interesting. It's sad that his wedding ring got stolen, but somehow it did, and hopefully he gets it back. Hocus Pocus, it's Hocus Pocus time. It's one of those movies that when it first came out was an absolute, did nothing in the movie theater. A lot of people didn't like it, whatever. And then it got a second life when it comes to a seasonal favorite. And now it's like treated like a Christmas story, where Christmas Story is played 24 hours from Christmas Eve through Christmas Day. Hocus Pocus goes through a similar thing, or it airs multiple times during the week on the 31 days of Halloween. But you can get a Hocus Pocus milkshake milkshakes. I should say there's three, and there's three different ones from Carvel now to celebrate the scary season. So good on that. So let's talk football now. Last week, Sunday and a Monday, was insane due to the fact that Sunday and Monday there were 12 missed extra points after touchdowns and 13 missed field goals. Now, one of the biggest interesting things about that game was there was the Cincinnati Bengals and Green Bay Packers went to overtime. And there literally was a series in there where there was Bengals got the ball. And at that time, it's whoever scores first wins now. So Bengals got the ball. They tried to kick a field goal to win the game. It missed, went far left. Then Packers got the ball back. They moved it down the field. They got within field goal range. They brought their field goal kicker out. He shanked it wide right. Bengals got the ball back, rushed it down, set up for a field goal. That got missed. Went back to the Packers, went down the field, tried for a field goal. That got missed. The Bengals went down, tried to get a field goal. That got missed. And then finally the Packers scored there. So it was just like, wow, that was an insane back and forth. And then in the Ravens game, which was on Monday night, there was about 2 or 3 missed field goals from who did we play again? I blocked it out of my head. The Indianapolis Colts. There were 2. There was 1 blocked field goal and 2 misses from the Colts field goal kicker. Justin Tucker, our field goal kicker, only had 1 shot at a field goal, and he made it. Of course he would, because he's the greatest field goal kicker of all time. But the big story about that was the Ravens defense again fell apart and is terrible and is going to be terrible for the rest of the season. So look for a lot of high scoring affairs. They could not stop anything. And there was a point where they were down by 16 points going into like the third quarter, and they just were not doing anything offensively. And then all of a sudden, like a switch went off in Lamar Jackson's head, and he just unloaded for a record evening, 442 passing yards, 50 some yards rushing, for a total of over 500 plus yards total for Lamar Jackson. He threw 4 touchdowns. Mark Andrews caught 2 and 2 2-point conversions. And Hollywood Brown caught 2 touchdowns, including 1 in overtime, which is what sealed the win for them. So the Ravens came back from a massive deficit and ended up winning the game in overtime on a touchdown. And Lamar Jackson had MVP form. It was outstanding, and it was a crazy game. Now, that in turn bodes for quite a game later today, since it is now officially Sunday, when the Ravens take on the Los Angeles Chargers down at the bank in Baltimore. Last week, the Chargers played the Browns in a shootout, and the Chargers end up winning. It was like 42-40 or something like that. That's going to happen tomorrow between the Ravens and San Diego, because they both Los Angeles. They both have explosive offenses, but both of their defenses are dog water, garbage, shitty right now. So it's going to be another shootout tomorrow. I should say later today. So enjoy. So if you want to see that, watch the game. Obviously, it's at 1 o'clock. So that's in 13 hours from now. So that's what I'll be doing in 13 hours. The other big news that came out that week was John Gruden. He is known as Chucky because of his red hair and his weird facial expressions. It reminds people of the killer doll Chucky from the Child's Play story. He won a Super Bowl with Tampa Bay in 2003. And then after he retired from football, he became a color guy for Monday Night Football for the longest time. And then at that time, Oakland Raiders, soon to be Las Vegas Raiders, decided to hire him as a coach and gave him a 10-year contract worth a ton of money. And he was in year 4 of that. And they've been okay, but not great. They started off pretty good this year, but then they started to fold a little bit. Well, apparently, for about 10 years now, John Gruden has been trading emails with various owners and GMs and radio and television personalities where he gets very sexist, misogynistic, racist, bullying, um, just a total dumpster fire. And the emails got out, and a lot of them are hugely offensive. And it's not PC stuff. It's literally it's awful, terrible stuff. And that in turn got Bruce Allen, who was a GM for the Washington football team, who got in trouble when the cheerleaders and other female members of the Washington football team's offices complained about the misogynistic, sexualized atmosphere of that office in the Washington football team's offices. And one of those emails was topless photos of Washington football team's cheerleaders sent to Gruden from Bruce Allen. And so obviously it's a big thing. So it became a big news story, and people were screaming, yelling. Roger Goodell was getting ready to step in and do something until Mark Davis, the owner of the Las Vegas Raiders, went in there and said, "You got to get out of here." So John Gruden resigned as coach, and this broke during the Monday night game, right around halftime of the Monday night game, and that's all they really talked about for this game. Not really the Ravens. Well, they started talking a little bit more about the Ravens game a little bit on, but that Gruden story was a huge one, particularly during the halftime show. So that's still going on right now. Investigation is still ongoing, and things still are not looking good. So for a lot of people, a lot of owners are scrubbing their emails now, GMs, and we'll see if anything else is going to roll out of this or what's going to change in the near future about this. Honestly, probably nothing, because at this time our country and our attitudes are shit shows right now, that the unlawful evil criminals are getting away with everything, and stuff that if normal people did that, they would be busted down in a second. So I'm not even going to go any further in that. Let's go from Eagles fans. Yeah, this is right. Speaking of that type of stuff, Eagles fans decided that they were going to. I'm sorry, let me just reread this. Eagles fans get arrested during the Panthers game for having sex in the bathroom stall. At a football game, there's lots of people, and the bathrooms are always full. And I don't know which stall they use. Those stalls are absolutely disgusting also. But apparently, two Eagles fans decided we couldn't stand it and we wanted to fuck each other. Now, normally that's okay. I mean, when you just have the urge to fuck, you just want to do it anywhere. And that's why you get a lot of stuff that you see. But it's just kind of a weird sort of story that happened. That happened during this whole wild weekend of football as well. So, yeah. Yeah. I'm just seeing if there's any other football stuff on this page. There might be more coming down the line, but right now on this page, I do not see any. I'll talk about I talked last week. I talked about the '70s show revival should now be called the '90s. That '90s show, and then LA Law is going to be having a revival. Well, guess what else is a show you probably wouldn't even expect to have a revival, but is Head of the Class, which was Howard Hessman's maverick teacher, teaches smart kids sort of thing, and teaches them about life lessons, stuff like that. One of the biggest actresses in that series was Robin Givens, and she was big because she married Mike Tyson until more things came out about their relationship and the beatings that he gave her, and all kinds of terrible stuff that happened with that. But Robin Givens is back on top, and she is headlining this revival of Head of the Class, which is just kind of a random sort of show, because it was popular, but it wasn't like hugely popular like a Cheers or a Seinfeld or a Frasier, those types of shows. Hell, I mean, there's even going to be a Night Court revival coming out soon, but that one is cool because Night Court was cool. But so we'll see what happens with that. I'm not going to watch it because I watched a little bit of Head of the Class, and then after Howard Hessman left the show, it was some British comedian, Billy something or other, that came in, and finished out the last 2 seasons or something like that. I don't know, but I'm assuming Robin Givens is probably going to be that new teacher, um, who's dealing with that group of students. So there's that. So good luck on that. I talked a little bit about this last week, earlier today. William Shatner officially went into orbit with Jeff Bezos this week. I think it was Thursday, I guess. Um, so good on that. And again, it wasn't literally into outer space. They went as far up as they could go without physically going into outer space, and then came back down. So, you know, William Shatner's like 90 years old, so I guess that's kind of good for him. Mark Harmon, one of my favorite actors, has left NCIS, which is a show he was on for 18 years, as long as my marriage was, or not was, is, it still is going on. I was just asleep upstairs. But yes, so this show literally started the year that I got married. And so Mark Harmon, because he was one of the leads when it started, and he was like the most famous name because Mark Harmon was a huge actor in the 80s and 90s. 80s in movies, 90s he did that show with the actress who's deaf. I forget what that one's called. And then he did this, so in 2003. So, but he left, so that's okay. There's test footage that is going around on YouTube of a comedian who is doing like almost like he's pushing for a Robin Williams biopic and wants to play Robin Williams. He has the look. He looked like a young Robin Williams because the clip that they showed was from his Mork and Mindy time. And he looked exactly like young Robin Williams. And he did impersonations like Robin Williams did it. So people were blown away by how good this was. Now, the one bad side to this whole thing is people decided to be really cool to say, hey, let's send it to Robin Williams' daughter to say, hey, this guy's doing a pretty good imitation of your dad. It'd be great to see, nice to see your dad again, that sort of stuff. But she obviously was like, whoa, whoa, whoa. This guy's, talented and all that, and it's great, but it's about my dad who's dead, committed suicide, and I'm still not quite over that. So please stop sending me this. It just opens up these wounds again. So, but if they ever do a biopic, it might be good to get this guy involved because he is really good at it. Let's see what else. What seems like forever, the new James Bond movie was supposed to be out. I think originally they were aiming for a November 2019. But overshoots, reshoots, and other stuff pushed it where they had to. And then I think maybe something else was coming out around that time, which was going to maybe take away from the box office. This is before COVID, obviously. So I think they moved it to like an April 2020, like right before Easter. So it would be like Easter weekend sort of thing. And again, this is before COVID. And a lot of people were just like, it should probably go in a November time slot because that's when all the other bonds have come out. So then they pushed it to a November 2020 thing. Then COVID hit. And so no one knew when the movie was going to come out. And again, after, the November 2020 date was now no longer within grasp. So I think they said maybe March or April again. And then when COVID wasn't getting any better, they said, all right, let's just push it to the fall again. So they pushed it to, I think, November, but then they moved it back to October when things seemed to be getting okay. And now there's like, okay, we're just going to have to send it out there because this was like, it's the last one that Daniel Craig is going to do. And it's really expensive and they want to make some money off it. And with movie theaters, somewhat open, but not fully opened, and people still trying to get it on streaming same day, stuff like that, it might take away from it. But in the end, it finally came out this weekend. This week actually was the previous week, it was last week, because since we're starting Sunday to Saturday, it came out that Friday and the box office hadn't come out yet for what it was going to be. So it finally did. So it made $56 million, which was below what they were expecting it to make. but still okay enough. And it might make some more this week because when I went out to dinner today with my family and my dad, my stepmom, we went to the Green Turtle in Hunt Valley, and there's a movie theater out there. Now the new Halloween movie came out this weekend, but as I said, James Bond was just out like last weekend or the weekend before or something like that. So I guess it was last weekend. So it came out last Friday, actually, I believe. So that's for the previous weekend stuff. Anyway, um, so there was a lot of cars in the parking lot for this movie theater. So I'm assuming that the movie theater had a lot of views. So maybe um, there's really nothing really else out there except for James Bond and Halloween. So if all these people went to see Halloween, okay, it's understandable too. But it's also possible that a lot of these people went to see James Bond in the second week. So we'll take a look at the numbers tomorrow. We'll get them in, or I should say later today, and we'll see how that goes with that. They also announced that the Eternals has an official runtime of 2 hours and 37 minutes, which makes it the second longest movie in Marvel Cinematic Universe history. So bully on that. It still looks good. It still looks like something that I want to watch, and I might take my chance and go see the movie theater. Now, I can't see on opening night, which is November 8th, because that's when my class orders due at work. So I have to be sure that I'm there at work to make sure it gets out and done properly. So I won't be able to take that day off to watch it. So I'll have to see it some other time. Maybe I might have to wait for it to be on DVD. We'll see. What else is out there? I just saw it. Will Poulter has been cast as Adam Warlock in Guardians of the Galaxy 3. So that's officially from James Gunn himself. There was rumors that he was going to be the one that's cast, but people are still saying, I don't know if it's true or not. And then James Gunn said, yeah, it is. So he's been cast as Adam. So Adam Warlock will be part of Guardians of the Galaxy 3, which we expected after the teaser from Guardians of the Galaxy 2. Tom Holland was talking about what happens after his Spider-Man movie when that comes out in December. And he's like, I'm not sure that he didn't say it in so many words, but a lot of people are reading between lines thinking that he is not going to be coming back. He just wanted to do the trilogy and that was it, done. I'm not exactly sure. I think people misread his quote. To me, it sounded like that, if we do a movie after this one, it will have to be a completely different feel, will have to be different from the home trilogy. And that just is like, well, duh. I mean, you're going to wrap everything up, supposedly, in this film coming out in December. So you don't need to keep doing these home things. You can just do a completely different story and continue on as Spider-Man. Or if he's done in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, which is also a possibility as well. That just might be it. Now, again, I'm not sure what's going to happen. We won't know. I guarantee you the Spider-Man movie is going to kill. It's going to make a ton of money. I think a lot more people are going to go to the movie theaters in December to see this because it's that type of film, because of all the hype about all the Spider-Mans being in it and a multiverse story and stuff like that, and leading into Doctor Strange 2 and so on and so forth. So I think this one's going to be a huge one, and they might do everything in their power to bring Tom back, or this might just be, them misconstruing what he said and him basically saying, yeah, we can do another Spider-Man, but it's going to have to be completely different than everything we've done before. And that's like, well, yeah, that's, you're doing a new story arc. So whatever. So we'll see what happens with that. There was a very interesting Venom post-credit sequence, which I'm not going to spoil for you, which also lays a little doubt into this Tom Holland saying he might not come back as Spider-Man. So we will see what happens with that, or if that's going to be connected to the movie coming out in December, but I'm not going to get into that. Thor hammer toilet paper holder is a thing. It's basically you put Thor's hammer down there, so you've got the hammer on your toilets, and then you have the handle of it, which is what you put the toilet paper on. So it looks fun and neat. And if you're a Marvel fan, that might be something fun for you to take a look at. And let's see what else. In the controversy, let me see if I have the story someplace else, and so I can continue it on over here. Because this is a stupid Republican thing also. Yes, there it is right here. So we'll have these two things. So we'll get these two stories done. All right. So Tom Taylor, an Australian, has been writing the new Superman, which is the son of Lois Lane and Clark Kent, who has Superman's powers, but a little bit different. And he's been a young kid for the longest time in the Superman series. But then Brian Michael Bendis took over, and he didn't want to write a young kid anymore. So he basically transported him to, or accelerated his growth somehow. I forget how he did it, and then transported him to the future where he teamed up with the Legion, which is what Superman did originally as Superboy back in the 50s and 60s. So they did a similar thing on Bendis's run on Legion. And then he's come back to Earth. And again, I haven't been reading Superman, so I don't know what's going on. And Superman has decided that he is going to leave the Earth to take care of some business out there. So he goes into the Superman Authority miniseries, taking care of something, leaving a grown-up, not grown up, but he's probably, I guess he's in his 20s now, or early 20s, or like 18, 19 years old thing, John Kent, to be the new Superman. And Tom Taylor is writing the new Superman book with John Kent as the lead. And he decided he wanted to explore a bisexual Superman, much like how Tim Drake all of a sudden became bisexual in Batman, which there was never really any, to be honest, any lead up to it. It just to me seems sort of like, hey, let's show how diverse we are and make these two characters bisexual. Now, obviously, that fits the storyline that whoever is writing those characters is writing, but and I'm fine. It's good. It gives bisexual people characters that they can look up to. But to me, it just seems sort of like a forced thing. But I'm fine. I'm all for it. I'm fine with it. It just, and I don't really read those books anyway, so it just seems like. But sure enough, who it did anger were the a-hole conservative dumbasses who just saw Superman is now gay, and he's not. He's bisexual. And they started complaining again, like they did with, canceling Pepe Le Pew and all that other bullshit that they've been spouting on about. In fact, so much so that a dumbass named Wendy Rogers went to Twitter and says that America likes their Superman not gay. He belongs with Lois Lane. Lewis, as in male, Lewis Lane. Obviously a typo, but, and again, this Wendy Rogers person has probably never, ever read a Superman comic, so has no idea what it was, has no idea that it's not Clark Kent Superman. And that was the other big joke. It's like, well, he's always, Superman is not gay. He's always in love with Lois Lane, meaning Lois Lane. Like, well, it's kind of weird that if Superman is still in love with Lois Lane, considering Superman is her son, and because they don't know that the real Superman is not in the comics anymore, is in his own comic and is not the main Superman. So just more stupidity from the Republican conservatives, who are complete and utter morons. And there's another one I'll talk about a little later right now. I just want to discuss it right now. So that's what's going on with that. So Tom Taylor's been doing all kinds of issues in his stuff, and that's what he is. He's a liberal, and that's what he does, and that's fine. But again, I just said, to me, it just seemed out of left field for these characters. All of a sudden, they're bisexual, and they've never shown any inkling or sign leading up to before this moment. So again, I guess I can make the case that a lot of people don't know they're that, or they're so ingrained in the closet that they don't realize it. So maybe I'm being an asshole about things. I'm trying not to be, because I'm for it. And honestly, I'm not going to buy stuff because I just don't read comics that much anymore, and I don't have enough money to buy everything. So, oh well, and that's my 2 cents on that. I've watched the first 3 Scream movies. Didn't see the fourth one yet. I'm going to try to rectify that on my Halloween horror weekend next weekend. But there's now a fifth one coming out in January, which reteams Nev Campbell, Courtney Cox, and David Arquette with a bunch of other characters. Mari Shelton's character from Scream 4 is also making an appearance in this as well, and is like, I guess basically is going to be rebooting Scream, but not really. It's going to just be another trailer. It's just going to be another chapter of it because the characters from the original trilogy are still there. And you can maybe say it's a handing off of the reins to a new generation if they continue to make some Scream movies. But the first trailer for Scream 5 came out. It looks extraordinarily creepy, a little bit darker and more violent than the other ones were. So we'll see. I'm still kind of interested in it, and I might check it out myself. Now, going from Halloween to Christmas, talked about the Mountain Dew stuff last week, a few hours ago. This one I feel is going to be an all everywhere soda, much like the watermelon one. As I said from last week's episode, since you probably haven't watched it yet, there are a number of Mountain Dew specialized flavors that you cannot get anywhere except at certain places that I don't have near me, particularly a Sam's Club, which I'm not even a member of, and I couldn't be able to get in anyway. I don't have a Kroger's, but I do have a Food Lion. I haven't gone to Food Lion to get that new soda. Maybe I'll do that next weekend and give that a whirl. But the watermelon one, which was a new one that came out this summer, was available everywhere, convenience stores and grocery stores. So I'm thinking that this other new flavor now, which is announced last year at this time, the Mountain Dew Snapped, people are thinking that the ginger flavored Mountain Dew was going to come out last Christmas, but it was just an announcement for this Christmas. So it was just called, at the time last year, Mountain Dew Snapped. It is now called Gingerbread Snapped, and it will be arriving for this holiday season, which I guess could be anywhere from November 1st to December 25th. I don't know. That's basically that. Technically, the holiday season covers October 1st, but that's besides the point. It's not out yet. But the gingerbread flavored sort of Mountain Dew thing is more of a Christmassy anyway flavor. So I would assume you probably see this sometime mid-November, probably. I'll keep an eye out again. Hopefully it'll be everywhere. As soon as I see it, bam, I'll grab it and we're done. As I said, next weekend, if all goes according to plans, my wife and kids will be camping with the Scouts, and I'll have the house to myself for the whole weekend. Next weekend, the 22nd to the 24th, is also the in-person Baltimore Comic-Con. Now, last year, Baltimore Comic-Con was online, Zoom stuff, which all the other cons were doing. Baltimore is considered one of the great comic conventions in the country. If you ask any number of writers, artists, editors, famous writers, artists, to give you a list of their top 5 conventions in the United States, Baltimore Comic-Con appears in those lists more often than you think. It's because Mark Nathan, the guy who owns the comic shop up the street from me, which is my comic shop, has been doing this now since 2000. So he's been doing it for 21 years. And he knows what he's doing. He respects the talent, probably puts them up in a good place, pays them appropriate amount, stuff like that. And the convention is not like your San Diego's and stuff like that, which has become more of a pop culture phenomenon. This is basically just about comics, and it's more intimate and stuff like that. Haven't been in a few years. I'm probably not going to go this weekend either because of my planning to stay home and watch my Halloween movies and having the place to myself and not being into comics as much as I have been. But you should go. It is one of the best attended by comics professionals, and it is one of the best attended by comic fans as well. The last time in person happened was 2019. It did 100,000 people in one day, which is outstanding. So, Baltimore Comic-Con at the Baltimore Convention Center downtown, October 22nd through the 24th. There's a Fortnite movie potentially could be in the works from a Star Wars producer. Don't know if it would be animated, live action, or what. Fortnite is my favorite game right now. They're currently ensconced in their Fortnitemares story. Fortnitemares proper will happen in 2 weeks. But there have been all kinds of stuff happening going on in Fortnite, including a old school 1930s Universal Monster Frankenstein skin, and there should be another old school Universal Monster Mummy skin coming out within the next couple weeks as well, which I hope to buy. So that's going on right now. I also talked about this a little bit in my last show, but Pokemon Go is currently in their Halloween event as well, which is the best event that they do every year. It was the first one they ever did when Pokemon Go first came out 5 years ago, and it is still hugely popular. And one of the main reasons why is because of the Lavender Town music, which takes the place of the regular nighttime music. So that's pretty cool. And I've always loved ghost types anyway. So seeing a whole bunch of them out now is great. We're going to get a new ghost type next week. The Halloween event is going to go separate weeks. This week is something special. The next week after that is a different thing. And the week after that will be something different as well. So interesting stuff going on there. I'm just trying to catch one right now. So that the Halloween event is still going on, which is great. It's the best one, as I said. And let me just delete this because it's not good. But I love the Lavender Town music. So I'm very excited that that's going on right now. So, boom. Squashmallows, I've never heard of them, but I guess there's some sort of stuffed animal company or whatever. They have a turkey plush just in time for Thanksgiving. It's adorable. It's very cute looking. And you gotta love that. This looks exciting. I like coffee creamer in my coffee, particularly flavored ones. Rice Krispie Treats coffee creamer from Coffee Mate will be coming out really soon. I would probably pick up a thing of that because that sounds absolutely outstanding. M&M's are releasing a Mexican jalapeno flavor, which I'm not so enthusiastic about. I find that a little odd, to be honest, but I guess there's a market for it, I guess. Little Debbie's, one of their most famous, they're a snack treat company. One of their most famous ones is their Christmas treat, as it were. They are making a ice cream of the Christmas tree treat that Little Debbie puts out. So that'll be out in time for the holiday season as well. Netflix has the live action Cowboy Bebop coming out really, really soon. And they also this week just signed a deal to air all 36 episodes of Cowboy Bebop on their on Netflix. So that'll be good. So if you want to get caught up on the anime to see how it compares with the live action one, you can now. I talked about a couple weeks ago how November 12th is going to be a big day for Disney Plus. It's their 2-year anniversary. They're going to be releasing Shang-Chi free to everybody through streaming there. They're going to be releasing Jungle Cruise free to everybody as well. They're going to do some behind the scenes shows about the future of the MCU and the future of the Star Wars saga, and it would include probably new footage of all the new series like that. I would assume that the Star Wars one will have footage from the Boba Fett series, the Obi-Wan series, the Andor series, second season of Bad Batch, and any other interesting stuff they got planned. And then the MCU one will probably have first looks at Miss Marvel, Doctor Strange 2, Black Panther 2, Captain Marvel 2, Moon Knight, What If Season 2, that type of stuff. So I'm sure that'll be coming. So add one more thing to that. When Disney Plus first came out November 12th, 2 years ago, 2019, they released the first 2 episodes of Mandalorian and a bunch of other stuff as well. And they also released the Christmas movie Noel, which for obvious reasons I wanted to see. Anna Kendrick is one of them, but also because Noelle is the name of my daughter, and it's a Christmas Santa's daughter sort of Christmas movie, and I thought it was cute, and I wanted to watch it, so I did. So they made it sort of a tradition now that they will be releasing a Christmas movie on this upcoming November 12th, and the first trailer for it has come out. It is Home Sweet Home Alone, which is the new remake reboot of Home Alone with the kid from Jojo Rabbit, not the main character, but his buddy. Um, and the first trailer came out, and honestly, it just looks like Home Alone. A little bit different, some different tactics and different villains, but sort of the same stuff. So we'll see about that. Will I watch that November 12th? Maybe. It's not high on my list. Maybe I'll check if I'm bored. If the kids do a camping trip in November, maybe I'll check it out then. I don't know. It's not a priority right now. Some science stuff. A sunspot larger than the Earth has begun to become active. And that's a good sign because we've been sort of having a not dying, but the sunspots go in a 10-year cycle, and we were at the low end where there's not many sunspots. But now with this big one, it looks like the beginning of the next cycle is beginning again. But the other big thing about that is when the sun ejects a lot of material and it gets blown through the solar winds to Earth, and it crashes into our magnetic field, it creates the aurora borealis. So obviously, due to where it hits and stuff like that, the aurora borealis is usually only available to be seen in the way far northern hemispheres or the way down southern hemisphere. But periodically, when storms are particularly heavy, you might see the aurora borealis. It's been as far south supposedly as Maryland. I've never seen them in Maryland before, but supposedly been there. I think they're the furthest south that I've actually seen pictures of is Pennsylvania. But this week alone, it's been popping up in Minnesota and Seattle. I mean, really nice looking auroras, not just some faint stuff. It's actually some, like it was, up in Alaska or something like that. You were seeing it straight up there. So that's pretty cool. Going from real science to faux science, these are the QAnon conservative dumbass dumb fucks. Their newest thing now is birds are not real. They are in fact spy drones that are spying on you. And when you see them sitting on telephone poles, or power lines, I should say, they are recharging. There are people who believe this. We're doomed. Livability magazine, I guess it's a real magazine. They do a annual listing of the best places to live in 2020, and every year it's like best place to live in 2021, best place to live in 2020, best place to live in 2019, blah blah. They have a particular itinerary which you have to follow. You have to hit all those buttons, and they grade all the cities on that, and then looking at those grades, they determine their list that way. Now, they listed the top 100 in this article that I read, and although nothing really surprising, in the top 50 at least, areas that seem to be the best livability places. Or Oregon, there was lots of places there. Michigan is another one that has a lot of good places to live at as well. And believe it or not, Maryland has 3 in the top 50. The highest rated one, I don't remember, I think it's in the top 12. I don't think it's in the top 10. It might be in the top 10. Is Frederick, Maryland. I've never actually been to Frederick, Maryland, but I've heard good things about Frederick, Maryland, and it hit all the buttons that they were looking for, and good on them. Columbia, a little bit further down the list. I've been to Columbia a bunch of times. I can actually see that as well, because it is a planned community that the guy who created Rouse created areas for shopping, areas for hiking, and biking, and schools, and good living areas, and everything, worked out pretty well. And Annapolis tops the top three. They were the only three that appeared in the top 100, but they were all in the top 50. After that, it got into a lot of Texas and Florida ones, and um, you know some Pennsylvania ones. I guess there were some there, but Oregon seemed to be a big winner on that end. But the number one best city to live in, with most livability, is Madison, Wisconsin. And I almost moved there myself. Dawn was when Dawn and I were first going out, it was about 9 months into our relationship. Um, her roommate was moving out, and she didn't know how she was going to be able to afford to stay in the house that they were renting. So I told her, so they had that, and then they're also she was going for her master's at University of Maryland, and her teacher moved to University of Wisconsin, which is in Madison. And she said, hey, if you want to finish your master's, why don't you come on out to University, to Madison? You can be my teaching assistant, and you can continue doing your master's. And I told her I will. And her job at McCormick was, they weren't giving her money and a raise and all stuff, and she was contemplating possibly doing that. So she just wanted to talk it over with me, because we were together for 9 months, and we seemed like this was a relationship that was going somewhere. So she wanted to see what my reaction would be, and I said I would move anywhere you want me to move. I could probably find a job anywhere, as long as I was with you, that type of thing. I think our housing would have been paid for, so that'd be one less thing where else I could work really anywhere. So I went so far as I started looking for jobs in that area. Excuse me. In the end, though, she got a raise at work, and she was able to find someone else to continue her master's at Maryland, but that sort of fell apart eventually. But at least, we almost moved there. We could have been living there now, as a matter of fact, and none of this would probably be happening. So we'll see. October 12th, a lot of anniversaries happened on October 12th. On October 12th, 1985, in an alternate reality, the comedian was killed. He's a character from the comic book The Watchmen. And then October 12th, 1979, is the Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy published, which was 42 years ago. So it was the October 12th, 2021 is the perfect date, because it's the anniversary of the book that was published, and Life, the World, and everything revolves around the number 42. So 42 years ago. So that was interesting. Some deaths this week. There's a Twitter handle I follow called Coal and Marmalade, which is about two cats, a black cat and I guess an orange tabby cat, and their adventures, stuff like that. Well, Cole, the black cat, who was one of the best known ones in Tampa, Florida, passed away this week. Ruthie Thompson, a Disney animation legend, died at the age of 111. So, wow. I think she was one of the first women to work at Disney, to be honest. The Hasbro CEO, Brian Goldress, died as well this week. Devin Bright, I guess, an Ohio State linebacker, was dead at the age of 27, died in an apartment fire. Oof, I guess a lot more to go, and I'm just getting ready to be an hour in. This might go to 1:30. Oof. So we'll keep going. Dave DePaula, an Oscar-winning animator, died at the age of 91 this week as well. Dorothy Stull, actress who was last seen in Black Panther, passed away this week as well. I don't think I have anything else here. Yep, that's it. So let's keep moving, see if I can blow through this here. Family offering $53,000 for a part-time nanny to dress up as a Disney princess the whole day for their daughter. I dress up for a Disney princess for $53K a year. Oh, Fanta has created a pina colada flavored soda. Mountain Dew did that kind of this season. That was another one that was out everywhere as well. So they did that too. Um, Cocoa Puffs popcorn treats are now a thing also. So if you like Cocoa Puffs and popcorn, you can do that as well. Sean Taylor, one of the best Washington football team players, whose life was cut and career was cut short when he was shot and killed by a home invader, is going to have his number um, retired tomorrow, or rather say earlier, no, later today, which is very sus because there is no like anniversary on this date. There it wasn't 10 years, 10-year anniversary of his death, wasn't any anniversary of a big game or whatever. It's just a random thing, and a lot of people believe that it's just a smokescreen to cover up the whole John Gruden scandal, which Washington is in effect a part of as well, and they're afraid that anyone else is going to take a look at if they dig deeper, they're going to start noticing things, and things are going to start going bad for Washington. So they want to throw something out to their fans that they've been clamoring for a while. So that's going to happen. So they claim it's been in the works, but the actual ceremony and all that stuff is very chintzy. And if you've been working on it for years, they don't have enough stuff. They don't have enough stuff for everybody who's going to be at the game as a memoriam to them. The family said that they were just contacted like last week about all this. So we'll see what happens about that. In a similar vein, something else that's sus. The Football Hall of Fame president David Beller announced his retirement effective immediately today as well, which is also very sus because why is it effective immediately unless you're having health issues, which no one has said you are, and just happens to be during this week of the scandal that is hitting the NFL. So very sus on that part. So those two things as well. I was going. I saw this when I wrote this. It was still a thing, but the IATSE, which is the film and TV workers, had set a date of Monday to go on strike. But just before I started this episode, breaking news: the strike has been averted. The IATSE has signed a new deal, so there's going to be no strike, and movies and TV shows are going to continue without any break in service. So that's good on that. Ron Mars and Ron Lim, who were the creative team on one of my favorite runs of Silver Surfer, are actually coming back to Silver Surfer starting in January. So it should be fun to see them working together again. So we'll see that as well. They were the ones that brought Thanos back into prominence and what the MCU gleaned on to be the big bad in the first phase of the Marvel movies and stuff like that. So their portrayal of him is what brought him into the MCU, basically. David Gordon Green, who's directing the Halloween trilogy that is presently going on right now, the last one's coming out next year, has decided that he wants to make a movie about the making of Disneyland. And I read a book last year about the making of Disneyland, which was actually very interesting. And it's a very interesting story. And I'm assuming that this is probably going to be based on the book I read, because there's a lot of stuff that could happen, could make for a very interesting movie. So I will. I think that's really good. Good idea. Jason Segel of How I Met Your Mother and Freaks and Geeks fame is going to be starring in a new series from the Ted Lasso creators, which is the hottest show in TV, one of the hottest shows in TV right now, along with Squid Game. Squid Game on Netflix drew 111 million views in its first month, the top overall of any Netflix series. I haven't seen it. A bunch of people at my work have. They keep saying how good it is. It just doesn't seem to be a big interest to me. My wife and daughter want to watch it, though, so we'll see if I watch it with them or if they do it on their own. I don't know, but we'll see what happens. Football has been going on for a while. The baseball playoffs are still going on, and now this week, both the NBA and NHL have started their seasons, and it seemed to me that they just finished about 3 months ago. So, yippee, I guess. Not a big deal for me anyway. Oh, the trailer for the Beatles Get Back, which is a documentary series from Peter Jackson of Lord of the Rings fame, is going to be showing up on Disney Plus on Thanksgiving. Uh, the trailer for the docu series dropped this week as well. Um, Glowing sand dune erosion has appeared on the side of a Martian crater, something that people don't quite understand why that's happening on Mars. That's kind of interesting that a glowing um, sand dune is happening on Mars. So that's to be investigated a little bit more, I'm sure. That's kind of interesting to see that. Uh, Christchurch, a town in Australia, has fired its city wizard, which is an official title, and someone actually took on the role of city wizard, much like about a year or so ago, I did a story about um, that there are no ninjas now out and about to protect towns, and they were trying to find new ninjas as well. So Christchurch had a city wizard. He's been fired. So they have nobody to protect them from dragons and creatures from beyond. Florida man on drugs claims to have killed his imaginary friend and decides to turn himself in. Yes, he was on drugs. And he said while he was on drugs, he told the police, while I was on drugs, I killed my imaginary friend. They kept him in prison because of the drugs, but Batman the Knight, a 10-issue series written by Chip Zdarsky, who's slowly been turning into a fantastic writer, despite the fact that he was a total goofball not too long ago, is going to follow Batman as he's training to be Batman. So we've something that we've only heard about, but now we're going to finally see him uh, in his 10-year journey, learning how to be Batman, learning about criminology and escape artist stuff and technology and getting into perfect shape and mental clarity and stuff like that. So it could be an interesting take on stuff. We'll take a look at that. The first let's talk about DC FANDOME stuff. Peacemaker trailer, the TV series that's going to be on HBO Max featuring John Cena's character from James Gunn's Suicide Squad. And James Gunn is totally involved with the making of it. Had its first trailer at DC FANDOME. It looks absolutely hilarious. It looks great. And one of the characters in it is a character named Vigilante, who's a character that in the 80s was a mature readers only comic that when I was younger, I wanted to see because there was a chance I could glimpse boobies and sex, and there was bad language and violence in it. And it actually was a pretty good series, but it was mostly because I wanted to see the sex and nudity in it. And I was able to because some of the comic people didn't see that it was a mature readers only book. But his outfit looks appropriate, as does Peacemaker. So that's really great. That's the first of the fandom stuff. I'll get into more stuff later on down the line. That was the first one that I saw. Going from Marvel to DC, Salma Hayek, who is starring in the Eternals, one of the characters in the Eternals, uh, is angry because her action figure appears to be too creepy, and she doesn't like her action figure, which is understandable. You have an action figure made out after you, and it doesn't look good. That's not cool because it's something really wild, right? Another DC fandom thing is the Milestone Writers, which are preliminary African American writers who've been writing comics like Icon and Static Shock and stuff like that, have at DC Fandom announced an initiative to get more writers and artists and diversity into DC Comics. So if you're an up and coming artist writer and you want to and you are diverse, African American or diverse, even that I guess that could be, any uh, race, sexuality, whatever, sex in general. You can sign up through this thing, and they will go through your portfolio, stuff like that, and try to get you on to some jobs through this Milestone Comics imprint that DC is running now. So that was kind of a neat thing to see as well. Um, a Oh, death metal band plays at an elementary school and the kids go wild. That's an interesting thing. You've never expect a death metal band to play at an elementary school, and the fact that the kids absolutely loved it is even funnier as well. Halloween, the Halloween movie out now, Halloween 3 gets a lot of hate because it had nothing to do with the Michael Myers story. Because originally, what John Carpenter wanted to do is he wanted to make the Halloween movies more of an anthology. So he made the first Halloween, and then he made the second one. Well, he didn't direct it, someone else directed, but he was fully involved with it. And he wanted that to be the end of the story, and then he wanted the next one to be a new storyline with new characters and new horror things. So that's what Season of the Witch was. Season 3, which was about, or Halloween 3, which was about masks that killed people when they put them on and watched television. And it has now become sort of a cult classic now. And there's enough fan interest right now that there's a possibility that they might actually make, with the popularity of these new Halloween movies as well, that they might actually make a sequel to the Halloween 3 mask storyline. So that's one of those, I'll see it when I believe it, but it would make sense. Indiana Jones 5 is presently filming with a 80-year-old Indiana Jones, which doesn't really seem to be too exciting, but the most recent info out of it is, could Indiana Jones 5 actually be a time travel story? And that in and of itself could be really interesting. I do not think Steven Spielberg is directing it. I think somebody else is directing it. I think he's just producing it. But could it be a time travel story? It absolutely probably could be. Katie Seagal, one of the best television character actors out there. You know her as Peg Bundy. Other people know her from Sons of Anarchy, and she was also on Eight Things About My Teenage Daughter, something like that, which was John Ritter's last series. She was involved with that, and presently is starring on The Conners, which is the Roseanne spinoff, playing John Goodman's new wife, because Roseanne was killed off because of her racist conservative attitude, and the other Conners wanted to keep working because they didn't want to lose their job. So they rewrote stuff around her death, and Katie Seagal came in and has wooed John Goodman's character, and they're now married. So now she's a regular as well. She unfortunately has been hospitalized after being hit by a car. Hopefully she will be okay. My wife went through something similar a few years ago, so kind of know what's going on about that. And asshole conservatism. A conservative mom burns her son's Pokemon cards every time he does not eat his food, which, as everybody's been pointing out, is an easy way to create an eating disorder. And also, it's a horrible punishment because not everybody is going to want to eat. Everybody has a different palate. And to force people to eat something by burning something they love that's valuable to them is just unconscionable and is a terrible parenting look. So she should have her kid taken from her, and she should be put into custody with child abuse. And of course, she's a conservative dumbass. Another conservative dumbass, and this is not an Onion story, this is an actual quote from somebody. A Republican genius said that, everybody's worried about the water level going up due to climate change, the melting of the polar ice caps, and that eventually that will flood the eastern seaboards of countries, destroying lots of oceanside cities and stuff like that. He claims that, climate change isn't real. So why don't we hypothetically, what if we took every boat floating in the water out of the water? Then the water level should go down, right? Because he says, I've been in the bathtub and I've seen things when I've taken them out of the bathtub, the water level drops. So he figures the same way would work with the oceans if every boat was removed from the ocean. I don't know how these morons are still out there. A high school football player does a flying headbutt during a game, and that's just rude in general. That could have hurt somebody pretty badly. But the dude literally launched himself at somebody and headbutted him, and that's outrageous. Um, Here's some kind of mutation kind of stuff. This is actually kind of interesting. Kentucky outside linebacker J.J. Weaver, I guess, has 6 fingers on his right hand. They showed a picture of him with his right hand, and sure enough, he has 6 fingers, and he's an outside linebacker. And that's kind of fascinating, actually, to see someone that actually has 6 fingers. I've never seen anything like that before, but it's really kind of interesting to see that it's not photoshopped, it's not fake. He actually has 6 fingers, and that I think in turn makes him a better football player because he's got more reach when it comes to that. Along those same lines, a two-headed baby turtle has been born in Massachusetts. We've got all kinds of two-headed animals out there now, so I don't know if this is a beginning wave of mutations or evolution. Same with the six-finger guy. Who knows what's going on with that? But there it is. A massive Darth Vader, they call Darth Vader sea bug, has been found living in the Indian Ocean. Big old bug. Looks a lot, I guess, like Darth Vader. That's why they did it. The Shrink Next Door is a new Apple Plus series that is starring Will Ferrell, Paul Rudd, and Catherine Hahn. It is a dark comedy about an obsessed shrink. And Will Ferrell looks like he's playing a straight man in this. Paul Rudd is going against type as a kind of an evil, um, stalkerish sort of psychiatrist. And Catherine Hahn is playing the overbearing sister of Will Ferrell's character. It's a definitely a unique story idea and looks like these actors are all playing against type, which I think is really great. We don't have Apple TV, so I won't be able to watch it, but it sounds very interesting. Through Amazon, Jack Ryan has been renewed for a 4th season, and Michael Pena has joined the cast on that. Um, where's the other thing? I thought I had something else in there, but I don't. 4 people were shot during an Alabama high school football game, and it makes a no blip at all in the news cycle. So it's still terrible when people get shot anyway, and nothing's going to ever get done about it. Switching from that to other stuff. Frosted mocha latte Pop Tarts are a thing now, and Narwhal waffles are a raspberry flavored waffle now from the company that makes Eggos. Uh, Cream Saver candies are coming back after 10 years off the shelves. They're like a vanilla cream flavored candy. So, like, there's an orange and a strawberry flavored one. So, it's like eating a creamsicle. Um, I've had them before. I liked them. They were pretty good. And now they're coming back. That might be pretty cool. Um, Hubble finds signs of possible water vapor on Europa, but in only one hemisphere and not in both of them, which means that it might not be a moon-wide ocean. The ocean might only be on Europa, might only be segued into or sequestered into one hemisphere of Europa. The other part might just be a straight up regular moon. So we'll find out more about that down the line too. Sean Penn's wife of 1 year has filed for divorce after only 1 year. Everybody saw that coming. Madonna was talking about how terrible it was being married to him. Um, Robin, is it Robin? Robin Wright Penn, who was in Forrest Gump and Princess Bride, and now goes by Robin Wright. When she was married to him, it wasn't all roses and stuff like that. So Sean Penn apparently is not a good person to be married to. Michael Caine has retired from acting at the age of 88, joining Gene Hackman and the late Sean Connery, who retired when they got older from acting, and has not given up. Clint Eastwood is still acting, and that's his prerogative, acting and directing, so he can do that all he wants. Talked about the Peacemaker TV show earlier. Well, Garth Ennis, who is known to write crazy, outrageous comic characters, has signed on to do a Peacemaker series in 2022, obviously to go hand in hand with the TV series coming out in January. October 26th, which is a couple Tuesdays from now, will be the new Fortnite Batman comic crossover, which will be connected to the Fortnite game because Donald Mustard, creator of Fortnite, is co-writing it. He also co-wrote a 6-issue miniseries that brought Batman to the island and also released many free skins and gliders and stuff through the comics. They're going to release the skin of the Batman Who Laughs, which is the new Joker Batman hybrid sort of thing. Michelle Branch, her first album, hence the music I played at the beginning of the episode, The Spirit Room, is having its 20th anniversary this week as well. It's one of my favorite albums. It's one of those that I can't listen to all 13 songs, or not 13, 11 songs, but I know that I can listen to like 1, 3, 5, 6, like 9, 10, 11, something like that. And it's a very good album. I really like that. It's early 2000, 2001, very early stuff. So she released a 20th anniversary album, and while I was trying to find the right song for it on YouTube that I was going to play at the beginning of the show, I heard some of her remixes or remakes of her songs for the Spirit Room, but 20 years later, and they don't have the same quality. They seem too mixed and worked on. It didn't give that rawness that the Spirit Room had. So I'm a little disappointed that she decided she had to remix almost basically all the songs and sort of took away the magic that I liked about the album. Now I have the original album, and that's all I'm going to be playing from now on. I'm not going to get this 20th anniversary one, but I was kind of hoping that she would just release the new album without any remixes, or if it is, have a 2-disc set with the original album and then these new remixes on it. I don't know, but not a big fan of that. But yeah, the Spirit Room is great. There's one song on there, Drop in the Ocean, which may sound weird, but when you listen to it, it sounds like it would be a perfect song to play during sex, because it starts off really slow, and it's a romantic song, and you could see yourself in the middle of foreplay doing it, going slow and stuff like that. And then all of a sudden it starts picking up the beat like that, which is when the actual sexual act is happening. Now, I know that's not the case of what it is, but I use that mindset because I listen to this album all the time when I used to have a CD player in my car, and I would play it all the time. And I had an idea once that I wanted to make like a YouTube show where it was just all 11 tracks of the song, and then 2 additional episodes for a 13-episode show on YouTube that was basically 11 music videos, and then 12 and 13 were actual live action bits that connected the stories. And it was a story of a romance, because the album, if you listen to the album, it's not done in order, but if there's a specific order that you put the songs in, it looks like it follows a relationship from the very beginning to the very end. And I had an idea for this series back, years ago when I was listening to this in the car all the way. It would have starred Felicia Day, because she was always been one of my favorites, and myself. And the basic premise is Felicia Day would be playing like Michelle Branch's character, and she would be a not struggling, but a musician who, plays at a coffee shop or whatever. And one day a group of office people come in and they watch her, and she immediately falls in love with the male character, and then the whole thing happens. And then there's a bit where near the end, everything seems, because the songs are following progression. It's like, it's like you have your first meetup, and then you're around together all the time, and then you have sex, and then you start spending more and more time, and things are getting more serious, you move in together, type of stuff. And then the relationship, once you've moved in together, doesn't have that same sort of heat. And then there's a song where it seems like you could play it as one of the characters cheats on the other, which is what I would do. The male character went off and cheated with someone else after they had a fight, and gets that woman pregnant, and then she finds out and tells him to beat the road. And then there's like a goodbye to you, which would be the last song on the tracks, which is about her, you know, erasing him from her life, that type of thing. It's plays out better in my mind, and it was actually kind of a neat idea. But it would play out as music videos. So basically, there would be no dialogue in the 11 episodes. It would just be showing the two characters doing different things. During those periods, like during the time where the relationship is solid, they'd be going on vacation together, opening Christmas presents together, meeting each other's families, Thanksgiving, going on walks in the park, stuff like that. And then early on you would have them, like there's one song called Everywhere, where basically they see their new love everywhere, which is, when you are first in love, everywhere you look you see that person because you're thinking about them all the time, so that sort of thing. And then of course the sex one, and so on and so forth. So I thought it was a good idea, and that's why I'm going to keep that in mind on the album. But the 20th anniversary remixes are not good in my opinion. Finally, here we go. I'm going to hit around the same time length as I did with my last show. That's pretty good. Let's see if I can hit it exactly. So we'll see. Real quick, Apollo 16 photograph has surfaced of a UFO flying outside of the spacecraft as it was going to the moon. And it's been hidden for a while, but now with all the releasing of the UFO stuff, this has been officially released. So it's kind of interesting to see now that the UFOs seem to be a more realistic thing, and as it's been covered up for a while now. So again, this could be fake because it's from one of those more fakey websites, but at the same time, it is a very solid picture and very solid stories I've heard about, Apollo's missions, seeing stuff like that. Now we get to the fandom stuff at the end. Doom Patrol has been picked up for a fourth season. The third season has not even dropped yet, but the fourth season, they like what they've seen, so a fourth season has been ordered. I'm also kind of surprised that they didn't show more activity with the Green Lantern show or announce any of their other new shows. They didn't do any of that. Instead, they did just a bunch of little things here and there. They did release teaser trailers for The Flash, which has Michael Keaton narrating it. And then you see just the silhouette of him in his Batman costume in his Batcave. And you see Ezra Miller's new Flash costume. And does it look any better to me? Honestly, it really doesn't. It looks the same old crap to me. The first Black Adam teaser, it seems like Black Adam has been in the works since like 2012 with The Rock in it. He's been involved with it. Eventually, I guess his schedule cleared up and he's finally made it. So they did the first teaser of that. You don't actually see his face. You see it for like a brief second, but it's in shadow. But basically, it's like archaeologists discover this cave and they unlock this tomb thing, and out he comes, and he ends up like killing one of them, that sort of thing. So it shows that he's a bad guy, stuff like that. But that's really all you see is a teaser, in that end. And then the big thing was the new Batman trailer came out. The plus side, Robert Pattinson actually looks really, really good as Batman. His voice is a whole lot better than Christian Bale's scratchy rah, 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 rah type of voice. And Michael Keaton sort of deep down, even though I kind of like the Michael Keaton one, but this one just seems a bit more like you probably would hear in Batman. He's not really trying to drop his voice down too much. You get to see a lot of Colin Farrell's Penguin. You see a brief glimpse of the Riddler, who looks absolutely terrible, by the way. I think that's awful. And you get Zoe Kravitz's Catwoman, who looks fairly sexy, looks pretty good. So we'll see how that is. And just get a little bit of a sense of what it looks like. And it's just sort of it's okay. So check it out for yourself, all that stuff on DC Fandom. And so that is the end of that episode. It is, as I said, 2 weeks to Halloween. Next week's show, as I said, I will be by myself, and we'll see where we go from that. We'll see what this week's brings us, and so on and so forth. So it is now 1:25 a.m. and I'm tired. I might stay up till 2 o'clock, but it's time for me to end the show. So thanks for watching, and we will see you soon. Bye.